Now, it's a commonly held belief within the US immigrant community that if the federal immigration agents come knocking at the door, they should not open it. Without a warrant, it was illegal for ICE agents to enter someone's property. An internal memo obtained by the Associated Press says immigration officers may now forcibly enter people's homes without a judge's warrant. The dramatic shift comes amid widespread protests and deep opposition to ICE agents and their tactics, particularly in Minnesota.
Well, Kerry Doyle is a US immigration lawyer. She joins us from Boston. Welcome to DW. Who do you think these ICE raids are hitting and affecting hardest?
Well, I think anybody in Minnesota or across the country, we're seeing ICE and Customs and Border Protection had moved into Chicago and LA and now in Maine. But I think in this area in particular, everybody's being affected, everybody, but particularly people of color, people that are caught in the immigration system are particularly vulnerable and I think particularly afraid, but everybody is. I just was talking to a friend who had a holiday scheduled with friends, one of whom is Asian American, and I said, I don't know if you really should be going to Maine right now.
Headlines have been full of the recent case of an asylum seeker and his 5-year-old son who are both detained. I mean, it's, as far as you can tell, is that legal? Are you seeing similar cases?
So traditionally, if someone had a pending asylum application, they wouldn't be subject to detention while the case was ongoing unless there were developments in the case. They got arrested, they had a criminal charge, something negative had happened. But what has happened in the last 10 months is that the Department of Homeland Security has come out with a new legal interpretation, changing 30 years of legal interpretation to say that individuals who've come over the border, either with parole or without inspection, are now subject to mandatory detention. And they're using that as an excuse to be so aggressive and detain people in a way before.
It's interesting, as we non-lawyers think, well, the law says this, so the law is the law. But from what you said, the law can be the law for 30 years and then someone else can just turn around and say, well, actually, no, we interpret this differently. And this is interesting, actually. In the case of, I think we heard it in the report, there's this internal ICE memo that the Associated Press news agency obtained that says that immigration officers have been authorised to forcibly enter people's homes without a judge's warrant. And again, people look at that and think, well, can you go into people's homes without a judge's warrant? And ICE authorities say yes. What do you reckon?
Right. So personally, I would never have signed off on that memo. I profoundly disagree with the constitutional interpretation that they have put forward. But as any good lawyer, especially in the immigration field, can tell you, the law is a lot of gray areas, and immigration law is a lot of gray areas. I think they're well outside the standard constitutional interpretation of administrative warrants. I don't believe an administrative warrant gives ICE or administrative authorities the right to knock a door down to arrest an individual. And it looks like that gentleman that was arrested after his door was knocked down, pulled out of the house in sub-zero temperature with only his boxer shorts on, likely was the victim of this new memo, which apparently isn't that new, came out last May. And I again, profoundly disagree with it, but until the case gets into court and a federal judge can review it, we won't really know. And again, it's been 30 years, interpreted a totally different way, 180 degrees different. So I'm optimistic that a federal judge would disagree with ICE's interpretation. But I also know the Supreme Court has really given this administration free rein to do what they want thus far. So I'm sure they feel emboldened. That
brings me to my next and final point, because, of course, we live in a social media age. Everyone's got a camera phone. Is it likely that all those hours and hours of footage showing ICE agents apparently acting with what many would see as excessive force, Is it likely that that will ever become evidence in court cases? Because the president, the vice president, the Department of Justice seems to just be piling in behind this.
So assuming that democracy holds and we have free and fair elections in the next coming years, I would anticipate a change of administration. And absolutely, I have been encouraging people to please file administrative complaints, and they can follow that up in federal court with the Federal Tort Claims Act. You can also file complaints directly through the joint intake centers at both Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And I'm strongly encourage everyone to do that has been arrested or detained under these authorities, because I think there will be a reckoning in the future.
There will be a reckoning, we'll see. Good talking to you, Kerry, a US immigration lawyer, Kerry Doyle.